One of the top things that yoga teachers struggle with, and I went through a lot of, is actually questioning how to make money online. And I want to share with you an example of a way that you have to change your thinking, right? Because now you're a yogipreneur. So I want to share with you a recent experience that a client, one of my coaching clients, was on, and how we're forging a path that is more yogipreneur-like, more business savvy than the employee approach to business. Okay, so let me start off with, what is the employee approach? The employee approach is the standard. I'm a yoga teacher and I teach these classes, I teach vinyasa, I teach ashtanga, whatever. And my rate is this many dollars or euros or pounds per class. And the math is very simple. If you charge $20 an hour per class, say, and it's a 60-minute class, you need to work 5 classes in order to make $100. So what are the pros of working like this, right? What are the, kind of the benefits here? Not much. You get some experience teaching classes, you get $100, but if you want to make another $100, you have to repeat that process again. And that means that you are limited by how many times you can repeat the process per day, per week, per month, whatever. And that puts you in a tight spot as an employee working in a market that doesn't pay yoga teachers very well for privates or group classes or whatever, right? Excluding some online people, less than 1%, who have huge audience followings and charge like $5 per class and get, say, like 5,000 people or 10,000 people or even 1,000 or 2,000 people to come, something like that. Minus those very few outliers, most yoga teachers going the route of the employee business model is just number of classes taught times the rate, and that's it. And one thing I hear from yoga teachers a lot is that they say that they're very creative, but they struggle with the creativity in how to deliver their message, how to share what they're trying to teach people, the transformation they deliver. These are things that, in my experience, I haven't seen yoga teachers be very creative in. And it's partly what's holding you back from making that transition from an employee to a yogipreneur. Because a yogipreneur does not think in the ways of how many classes for how many dollars. That's just too constricting. It's more like, instead of taking the employee route, which prioritizes doing short-term work that needs to be repeated, and you usually get paid pretty quickly, sometimes right after class or at the end of the week or maybe at the end of 2 weeks. And, and then you repeat the process. So it's very easy, there's not that much going on or like required. And as a result, that model can't grow very high or very much in terms of income. But a yogipreneur is going to be thinking in the ways of scale. Because if we're going to avoid overexerting ourselves, spending all of our energy, burning ourselves out, repeating tedious tasks, these are not the things that yogipreneurs do. Yogipreneurs would rather invest some money into systems and have those systems do the work for you. Let me tell you, I'm quite baffled at the number of people who will pay $3 to ride on the transit one way and then another $3 to get home and do one yoga class for $10 or $15, maybe $20. That's crazy. You're losing over 20% just to transportation. And that's not including taxes or any other fees you might have for that, right? And this is like every day. Let's say you do 3 times per week. You spend $6 on the bus or the subway. That's $18 per week, right? That's crazy. $34 every 2 weeks and $68 every month. I show yoga teachers how to run an online business for $99 a month. You don't have to leave your house. You can do, or you can exactly leave your house. That's the point. You can go and travel abroad and do what you want to do, right? Just saying. Now, what's the difference here? What's the difference? Like, okay, Josh, you talked about an employee business model, which isn't a business model. It's employees and businesses. They're completely separate. Business model says, I know a lot about chakras and I'd like to share that knowledge and help people get rid of the blockages in their chakras. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a little book that's going to highlight what the chakras are, explain when a chakra is functioning well, explain some of the indicators of it being blocked, share, some best practices with the reader about how to unblock that particular chakra, including written explanations of pranayams, perhaps meditations, and maybe even some journal prompts to help them reflect on that particular chakra. Okay, so you do this for all 7 chakras, and let's just say at a bare minimum you do that. And then you decide that you're going to sell this book, originally priced at $14.99, but you're going to have a launching promo of $9.99 or even $4.99, right? $4.99 for the first 30 people and $9.99 for the next 50 people, and then $14.99 normal price after that. Okay. Now, to do something like this, you're going to have to spend a little bit of time up front doing the research, finding out what your students want, and preparing the material, editing it, getting it online on Amazon, on Apple Books, on Google Books, on Goodreads, Kindle, Barnes and Noble, blah, 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 right? And then you got to promote it on social media. So what appears to be good for employees is that they just start. They're not responsible for getting students. They're not responsible for the space. They're not responsible for very much when you're doing it for somebody else. And as a result, you don't get paid very much because in the eyes of the business, you're not doing very much to make them more money. Even yoga studios, because guess what? It's not about how much money you make, but you need enough money to survive, especially for yoga studios because they have so much expenses, right? Paying the teachers, the electric, the water, having a good location, usually having some kind of facilities on site, right? Managing the computer and the admin systems and the office stuff. And then, having to pay for all of these just from group classes and privates. It's ridiculous. I've managed 2 different yoga studios. I've seen what it's like. It's extremely hard. So frankly, in the eyes of the yoga business, from a pure business perspective, yoga teachers fall under the expense column because yoga teachers are required to be paid. But there's no way to correlate saying, hey, like, how much money do yoga teachers bring in? Now, it's true that yoga teachers can build a reputation and draw students to the studio. This takes years, at a minimum months, but likely years to make a big enough impact that the amount of money that the teacher is bringing into the studio in monthly and ongoing memberships to surpass the cost of the teacher, it takes a long time, right? Unless you're in a big city and you got a great brand within the studio that they are very heavily self-promoting. Most teachers will not earn their expense back in referrals of students over time. You know? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not the teacher's responsibility to do that. But in the eyes of a business, from a business and accounting perspective, the yoga teacher is not bringing in a quantifiable amount of money on a regular basis and is costing the business a quantifiable and usually fixed amount of money on a regular basis. Okay? So that's why it's hard to get paid quite a bit of money from the studio, despite how much you're helping the individual students, right? You know, and then it just gets harder if you're recruiting your own students and having to teach live classes. Contrast this to the yogipreneur who does the research, takes the time to write a book, invests a few dollars in a couple of platforms to get the content up, maybe make the material look a little bit more professional, maybe get some content taken from a photographer or somebody else, you know, like, I mean, you could really get an ebook prepared quite quickly, look very professional. I'm gonna say for like $50 or less. Okay. Now we talked earlier about the cost of taking the bus. Maybe in your city it's a little bit cheaper, but I'm from Toronto and just getting on the bus or the subway. I think when I was there like 5 years ago, it was like $3.25 to get on. So maybe that's like $2.75 American or something like that. It's probably higher now. So that's an average. I don't think that's unrealistic for a lot of major cities in a lot of Western countries. And we figured it'd come out to like $68 for the bus, right? And if you get a monthly transit pass, the one in Toronto is like $130 or $40 for the subway and the bus, but it's unlimited. So, right? So if we were using that, I mean, that'd be even worse. But my point being here that a yogipreneur is gonna go, okay, yes, I'm gonna take a little bit longer to have something I can put out there to the world, right? As an expression of my knowledge and my teachings and my studies and my experiences. It's gonna take a little bit longer to put it out there, but once it's out there, it's done and made, and I can infinitely resell it. Now, it might take me, you know, a few extra weeks before I start earning some income. Maybe it takes me a few extra months to really build that up. But the point being that this yoga teacher can get so much more from having this ebook online for sale, because here's the thing. That yoga teacher is only getting paid for the number of classes that they teach, right? Let's just say that you do 3 hours of prep for your classes per week, right? And you do three classes per week or 6 classes per week, 3 hours of prep, right? So let's say you do 3 hours a week of classes, or 6 is a little bit more, plus the 3 hours of prep, that's 9, times 4, right? So you got 35 and 36, and so that's 36 hours of work, but you only get paid for less than that. My math's kind of shady right now, but 24. So you only get paid for 24, right? Whereas, sure, the yogipreneur, they don't get paid for the first 2 hours or a few hours that they prepare the content, true, but they get paid infinitely every time a book is sold thereafter. So short-term game for huge payoff. And theoretically, if the yogipreneur is a you know, diligent worker, what they would do is they would spend at minimum the equivalent time that the other yoga teacher, the employee, is teaching per week, right? So if we said that it's 9 hours of work doing group classes, the yogipreneur could also do the group classes and make money. Or if they wanted to grow their social media and their ebook significantly faster, what they would do is spend at least 9 hours creating content that they can keep publishing and putting out on social media multiple times per day, right? If you spent 9 hours a week on social media content creation and you were posting it regularly, it would not take you very long for you to start driving ebook sales. And like we said, we talked about, I think it was 30 people got it for $4.99, so that's $150, right? And right away, if you're paying the more expensive transit pass, like I talked about in Toronto, there's that, right? From 30 sales, which is just one a day, right? And then if you were to do the next batch, that was 50 times $9.99, right? So we'll just call it times 10. That's another 500, right? So do you see how quickly we've just done this, right? And you can run this promo and you can say, look, the first 30 people get it for $4.99, right? Once the people, and like even in your bio, you could keep it up to date with how many sales. So if you've sold like, 23 copies, you could be like, only 7 copies of my book left at $4.99, grab it here. This book will like unblock your chakras and get you back in tune and in alignment. The line I just said. Right? And then when you sell out of the $4.99 ones, you raise the price to $9.99 and you say this is available for 50 people, right? And repeat the process, count down how many are left. And then, you keep posting, right? You keep doing that 9 hours per week that the other yoga teacher is just doing the classes. No self-promotion, no other material being created that can be infinitely sold. They're just prepping in classes. That's it. So while initially, it seems like a better deal because you get that money faster. You get that money faster. And that's why a lot of people have a job, because it only takes 2 weeks to get a paycheck. But then they complain that the job has a ceiling. Well, of course it does. You can only do so much work. That means you can only make so much money. Like, there's nothing confusing about that, right? Every yoga teacher says they want to help people, but when it comes time to decide which people are going to be helped and what's going to be taught to them, a lot of teachers get quiet. Yoga teacher trainings don't teach you tech, marketing, business, social media, copywriting, landing page design, funnel design, webinar creation, advertising, So if you want more freedom in your life, you're not going to get it by teaching a bunch of group classes. And the example that I gave with the ebook just continues. And I mentioned at the beginning actually that I want to share what a client and I were doing to grow. You see, this is my big secret for this video. Most employees, the only thing they think about when it comes to finances is reducing expenses. Now that sounds good, right? Reduce your expenses, save more money, except inflation. So however much you saw prices go up, that's how much your money lost its value last year, which I know for many people was a lot, right? That's why the price of food goes up. That's why the price of houses and everything else goes up. Because the value of the money is becoming less and less and less. But as a business owner, you can always raise your prices not because you just want more profit, but because you have the ability to add more value. Simple as that. Add more value anytime you want, you can raise the price. Game changer, right? At what point can a yoga teacher just say they're going to get a raise? Not halfway through the year, not 3 times a year, only when the studio says so. That's the difference. A yogipreneur can create a new product or a new service at any time to raise more money and set it at whatever price they can feel comfortable doing that. And sure, at the first few times you're going to be dealing with $5 items, $10 items, $100 items, but you got to keep growing. You got to keep pushing that. $250, $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. You got to be up there. It is easier to make $3,000 in an hour, which I've done, than it is for me to work at a yoga studio and make $800 in a month. or $1,000. The hassle, the effort, the prep, the training, it's just not worth it, you know? So the Yogipreneur is going to make that change. And in this case, talking about the student or the client that I have that I've been doing some business coaching with. So she's been running this ad and collecting emails, right? And she's been running this ad for a long time. It's just to collect emails, and it's just on autopilot, right? Literally every couple of days, every day she gets 2 to 5 emails. And what happens is she can then reach out to those emails, those people, and email them content, right? And I don't mean just like, here's a picture of me doing triangle pose and here's the benefits, right? I mean, position to them to take action, like joining a private Facebook group, connecting on a call to discuss working together, and taking a free webinar or workshop, right? She has over 1,000 emails, and she's saying, look, Josh, I'm spending money on this ad to collect emails, and I want to turn on another ad that will be used for running ads to her webinar, right? Because her webinar is now going to be positioning her for a premium program. And so she's like, I want people coming in from ads to my webinar and connecting with me. And I said, yeah, sure. She's like, well, how am I going to pay for this? I'm already paying for this first ad that collects the emails, and I don't have any more money right now to be paying another, $5 or $10 a day for this other ad. And I said, look, that's perfectly okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start reaching out to the people in your Facebook group and connecting with them about working together. And this woman, she sells a premium program. And I said, look, what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to those people, and we're going to have them book a call with you to discuss working together. And we only need 2 or 3 people for her to make several $1,000s, right? 2 or 3 people to sign up. She's got over 1,000. It's extremely doable, right? Very, very easy to get those numbers. And as a result, what we're going to do is we're going to turn on that second ad, but only after she has organically signed up people from her group through the emails, right, that she sends them. She's going to sign them up, make the money for signing them up for her course, and then use that money to pay for the webinar ads. That's her second one, right? So what's the difference here? Employees and average people, they only think about reducing expenses instead of thinking about new ways to create an income, right? Yogipreneurs do both. They look for ways to reduce expenses, and they look for ways to create new money. I think this is what yoga teachers who work the employee model don't really understand, is you are literally creating something from inside of you. A workshop, a book, a meeting, a course, whatever it is, coaching, anything like this that goes beyond and can be resold is literally creating something from nothing. And that means you can do the same with money too. And you'll never have to worry about if a studio is going to drop your classes again. You're never going to have to worry about how many people show up to your class, right? That's the crazy part. This is the difference. And these things can be sold over and over and over again. And as a result, you don't have to do all the work yourself, which means you can earn way more. 5, 6 digits a month are easy to attain on this, because you just have to work on building up how you're getting your ads going. And you'll have numbers that say, look, if I spend this much on advertising, I make this much in sales. And a good yogipreneur will know that for every $1 they spend on advertising, they can make 5, 10, 15 times more money in sales. So it makes sense. You spend $1,000 in ads, you should expect to make $10,000 to $15,000 if you're really dialed in. It's not that hard. Even if you're spending $1,000 to make $3,000 a month, it's a no-brainer. Or even $2,000, right? Most people spend several $100s per month to get to their job, go out for food, have the business close, all of that, right? Costs several $100s a month to manage getting to your job, when instead you could pay a few hundred, $100 to $200 a month, to pay for platforms that work for you no matter what time of day it is and collect money on your behalf. That's the difference between a yoga teacher and a yogipreneur. And it's one of the ways that I showed my client how you can raise more money so that you can use that money to do something else that's going to make you more money. You see? If you'd like to learn how to do this, I've got a free workshop down below. Check the link out, and if you'd like to learn how to take your teaching online, do it from anywhere, and make more money than you think, I'll see you inside.